What up, nerds? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Leslie Smith, and today on the Nerdy Narrative, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts and opinions about my reading experience of the new release from Gwendolyn Kiste called The Haunting of Velkwood. While this is going to be a subjective review comprised of my thoughts, feelings, and emotions while reading this book, the hope and goal of this review of this channel is that by sharing my experience, it'll help this book find its way to the right readers, which might be you. Now, this is a book that I would still consider to be a new release. It came out on March 5th, 2024, published by Saga Press, which huge shout out to Saga Press. I requested this book for review and they sent me a free copy to read and review. I was over the moon. The reason why I wanted to read this book is because I am a fan of the author Gwendolyn Kiste. Previously, I've only read her short form work, short stories that have appeared in anthologies that I've picked up and collected over the years, so I knew I was going to be a fan of her writing style. I also was familiar with her writing style, and Gwendolyn Kiste is an author that I would put into the literary category, and I think that's important to say up front. I would call this literary fiction. I know it's categorized as horror. I would agree that it is very gothic in feel and atmosphere, but it's not scary horror. It's trauma, it's grief. It is about three people who survived a traumatic event and how they dealt with that or how they didn't deal with it. One shut herself away in a self-built prison. One is racked by guilt. One apparently was able to move past everything and have a seemingly normal life. But the main theme that I picked up on was self-preservation. So in my opinion, this title should have been The Hauntings of Velkwood, because there is a haunting that is our surface story, and then there's a haunting of the human spirit that is the underlying story, which is the one I was most interested in. I know those of you that have been watching the channel a while might be surprised by that, because this girl loves a good ghost story, and we did get a ghost story, which I was really shocked by how quickly we got to see and have our characters interact with these ghosts and just how that interaction took place. It was very unique, very unique. But my goodness, just the exploration of the character, especially the main character, Talitha. I wonder if that is my favorite part, because I immediately, on page one, I related to the character of Talitha. Something that Talitha observes about someone that has come to talk to her is that these days everybody seems younger than me. I felt that. That just struck me to my core, because that is something I literally think several times a day, every day. I'm 47, Talitha is 40, and we're just at that age where we're beginning to notice a lot of things changing about our bodies, and that affects a person. Whether you're confident about yourself or not, that still gets to you. You notice every little change as soon as it happens. Now, no one else may notice it. My husband says he doesn't notice all of the things that I point out to him, and he doesn't care, but it still affects me. So right away, I was able to relate to the character of Talitha. The ability to relate and to empathize with her just continued to grow over the course of the novel. And let's get into a brief book description so I can explain more about that empathy that I felt for this character. So The Haunting of Velkwood is about a neighborhood. It's a one-street neighborhood. There are 8 houses on it. And one day, literally in the blink of an eye, or rather overnight, this neighborhood disappears. Well, not entirely. You can barely see it. It's a ghost. It is a ghost neighborhood. It hovers in between. It's there, it's not there. It's almost like an illusion, but it is only just faintly visible. There are only 3 people who survived this event. 3 girls, Talitha, Grace, and Brett. And they happen to have left this neighborhood right before this happened to go back to college. Because they were away when it happened, they escaped, but all of their families were left there. And no one knows what happened. No one knows if the people on that street still live. Are they dead? Are they ghosts? Are they just hovering in between as well? Are they stuck? There were those that hypothesized this was a cosmic anomaly. Others yet said this proved that there was life after death. And where readers come on board with the story. It's been 20 years since this happened. There's a group of researchers who have some new ideas about how to approach what's going on with this neighborhood, and one of them approaches Talitha. They want her to try and enter the neighborhood because ever since this happened, there's this invisible barrier that keeps people out, except Grace was able to go across this barrier and enter the neighborhood. So we have this mystery of this haunted neighborhood that's going on. That's what I call our surface story. The underlying story is Talitha. It talks about her childhood and what happened that shaped her into becoming almost a hermit herself. She lives in this shell. She is alone. She works 3 dead-end jobs. She's not happy. And coming back to her neighborhood and being in that town is taking her back into her past. Now, the time that she was a kid is when I was also a kid, and the way that people treated those who were different than what society considered normal, just how parents would treat kids that were different. I mean, it really took me back. And while it made me sad to revisit that type of behavior, it also had me take a look and go, wow, we really have come a long way. We still have a long way to go towards loving and accepting one another, but I had to also appreciate just how far we have come. In today's society, people are able to live more freely as their authentic self than those when I was a kid. And just a really warm and fuzzy way to end on, which is how this story left me. I'm also happy to report that if you have only ever read Gwendolyn Kiste's short form content, her long form prose is just as beautiful and well done as her short stories. I was not disappointed in my very first book by this author. I will absolutely continue to read more by her. So if you do pick up this book and love it, not to worry, I'm going to be reviewing more of her work in the future here on the channel. I hope that if this is a title that had caught your attention, I hope this is the review that pushes you over the side of the fence to take a chance and pick it up and read it, and I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. I'll have this book linked in the description box down below where you can find it, where you can read the full book description, pick up a copy. I'm sure your library will have it. I did check out the audiobook from my library so that I could immersion read, and so I could keep reading even when I couldn't sit down to physically read. The narrator is Jennifer Pickens. I did not care too much for this narrator. It felt like in situations where Talitha was very emotional, I felt the narrator was overselling it just a bit, was forcing that emotion into her voice, and it just did not work for me. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't my favorite. I would not buy the audiobook, I'll tell you that. All of that will be linked in the description box below, as well as the author's website, so you can read and learn a little bit more about Gwendolyn Kiste. Find a list of all of her other published works. So if you read this one and you enjoyed it like me and you want to read more, all of that will be there for you to check out. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one.